All right, so today's topic is pretty random, probably for the average person. It's not going to be necessarily a self development talk or anything along those lines. Today I'm going to talk about pickleball. All right, so currently there are, well, until recently, let's say, there were several major organizations promoting pickleball and putting on tournaments. Now, there's probably more than what I'm going to list here that am not familiar with or whatever. It's kind of the early days of the sport, I think, in terms of like being organized and really getting investment into it. Like pickleball's existed for like a long, like decades, but it really kind of mushroomed during COVID, and then yeah, now it's got several kind of sanctioning bodies or whatever that are yeah, promoting the sport. Now the APP has been going for a long time. The was it, American Pickleball. I don't know. I'm not sure what it stands for, but the APP kind of functions as a minor league. They play nice with the other leagues and whatever basically, and they seem to be very player centric in how they set up their tournaments and their experience. The PPA has been kind of the big name tour, and so they seem to be a little more oriented towards a great fan experience, if you will. They've got bigger money investment into it, I believe. Fatter contracts for their players. They try to get exclusive contracts with their players, things like that that the APP doesn't really do, to my understanding. So I think they both have their place in the ecosystem, but right now, if you want to watch the big name players, pretty much they're all in the PPA. Whereas, developing players, you can watch some cool players in the APP, but basically once they get good enough, and then they switch over and play for the PPA. Basically, is how it works. So, um, now the reason that I am talking about pickleball today is because there is a major merger that's occurred in the pickleball landscape, and that is that the MLP which is Major League Pickleball, has merged with the PPA, which is that sort of top tier tour, if you will, that I've talked about. So, um, I don't know for the sport long term whether or not this is good news, but in the short term, it's good news because Major League Pickleball had shut down. Essentially, it was had ground to a halt because of merger talks and negotiations were kind of a cycle of like thinking you're almost there and then falling apart and stuff like that. So they were in that there was a point in last year where there was kind of a crazy bidding war going on for talent. The MLP, the Major League Pickleball, offering some pretty crazy contracts to players. The PPA also, I think, offering some very aggressively priced contracts. Since then, I think for the most part, they've backed off on the size of those contracts. But there was kind of this scramble to get top talent, and it would have been interesting to see, long term, what would have happened if the PPA and the Major League Pickleball would have been competitors trying to capture viewers and top talent. So I guess we won't get to see that, that fun, if you will. At the same time, we will be able to see top talent in both venues. And in the short term, I would guess there might be more total events per year than there would have been otherwise. Well, I say than there would have been otherwise. No, I don't know about more, but but now that they're merged, at least there should be a very nice amount of combined events. I mean, as far as like if you take all the PPA Tour events, then you add all the Major League Pickleball events, that should make for quite a lot of watching, viewing opportunities. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy Major League Pickleball is back. I think the format is a fun format. It's rally scoring instead of whatever they call the other one, side out scoring or something. I'm not sure what it's called. Um, but the format is different. It's kind of cool that you can, cheer for a team and not just for an individual player or two person, team. So these teams have, I'm not sure what the total roster is. It's at least, I believe it's at least eight on a team. I believe it's at least two men and two, or Oh boy. now, now I'm forgetting if it's 2 men and 2 women or if it's 4 men and 4 women. Um, but anyway, it might just be 2 and 2. It might be four, but then it might have some. I'm not sure. I'm not actually sure on that. I guess I'll have to get back with you on that if I want to. But yeah, so the format with the rally scoring tends to be pretty fast paced. Games can really go quickly, and you have, because there's a draft. It's different. Whereas in the PPA tour, you've got your top tier players like Ben Johns and Annalee Waters that are typically just dominating tournaments, and so now there's some upsets, but for the most, especially Annalee Waters is just dominant, and so yeah, I think MLP has an opportunity there to be, in some ways, more interesting because it's a team sport. Players are drafted, so you're going to get some terrific players with some not quite so good players, and just some of the dynamics that you have in a league that you do not have in your typical tour format. So anyway, at least in the short term, I'm very glad the deal got done, so that Major League Pickleball can come back and be played again. I considered myself to be a DC fan as far as the DC Pickleball team. We'll see if I feel like remaining a DC fan or not. Riley Newman is probably the biggest star on that team. Although I think both Kawamoto sisters were on there as well last year, so I don't know now with the draft, of course, what roster changes that we'll see there. Riley Newman is known perhaps for, well, let's just say he's an interesting guy. All right, so his personality and his style on the court may or may not be to your liking. So I'm not sure if it's to my liking or not. Maybe I'll switch to a different team. Having twins myself, I think having the Kawamoto sisters on the team, I think is fun. And they're also pretty good. So that's cool. And DC did win, I think, a tournament or two last year. So anyway, so that's the big news. Major League Pickleball and PPA have merged, and hopefully we are now past the drama, if you will, and we will get on to making Major League Pickleball a great sport to watch.